So this is part 3 of the brake upgrade on the 66 Mustang. Today I'm going to be doing two things and really only going to feature one of them in the video. I'm going to be installing the new master cylinder, brake booster with the proper proportioning valve, getting the line set up correctly. And actually, I kind of fit all this together just to see how it all went. And I realized after thinking about it that this proportioning valve actually goes on the bottom side of this bracket. So the way that these brake lines sit, and I think that this is a Ford thing, and this is where I'm a Chevy guy, so I'm learning the intricacies of Fords. I believe, which would make sense to me, that the front brakes will be in the rear reservoir and the rear brakes will be on the front reservoir. And that kind of makes sense because the rear reservoir is much larger, which usually you have more volume for the front. And that's the way that these lines seem to line up. So I got to take a look at this and see how this is configured. It didn't really come with any instructions, unfortunately. The only thing that it did come with instructions on was the brake pedal, and they tell you to drill a hole in the brake pedal a ½ inch lower and 1 inch lower than the original hole because the leverage needs to be different for the brake booster. You need a little less leverage and you need more throw, which that's what that's going to do by moving it closer to the pedal. If I'm thinking about that correctly. Yes, that's correct. You get more distance, less leverage. So I drilled one ½ inch lower. I don't see how you could drill one 1 inch lower just by looking at the brake pedal. I'd show it to you right now, but I just shot some paint on it because I figured while it was out, I'd clean it up. But I don't see where the bend is in it as it twists when it comes down. I don't see how in the heck you're supposed to drill a hole 1 inch lower. So we'll go with a ½ inch, see how it works. If I have to take the pedal out, it's really easy. It's literally one cotter key and a pin. So, and a hairpin to take out if you take off the brake switch too. So I guess it's a hairpin and a cotter key, but very easy to get out. We'll see how it all kind of lines up. I'm thinking that the ½ inch lower is probably going to be just fine. So we're going to go ahead and pull the master off of here. We're going to bench bleed it. I don't really need to show that at all, so I'm just going to go ahead and do that. I think, bench bleeding is a real common known thing. There's nothing special about it here. So I'm going to go ahead and get that done, and then we'll come back and we'll install the master cylinder on the booster, as well as getting the proportioning valve set up correctly. So I'm going to figure all that configuration out, and then we'll come back and we'll show you it. So it's like 2 hours later and about 400 cuss words, but the booster is in. It's harder to get to than it looks like, especially that bottom driver's side bolt. So if you use this kit, if you use this booster from Performance Online, take the brackets off the back of the canister first. I tried to put it in as one unit. I couldn't do it. And I use new hardware as well. The old bolts were real long because they go through the master. At least the bottom ones go through the master, the old master. So I used some new grade 8 hardware that I had. They are 3/8 16 bolts. So I got the booster in here, and the next thing that we're going to do is get the brake pedal in and get all the alignment and the elevation set, because the brackets and the booster, the brackets on the firewall side and the booster side are both slotted. So you can change the elevation of it to line up with the new hole in the brake pedal. So I'm going to do that next. And then we'll get the master in here, and then I'm going to work on the brake line configuration. I already bent a couple of lines. This one's obviously pointing the wrong direction right now, but I had to bend them. This one kind of went 90 degrees. That's the passenger side front. And then the rear one is got to come up right about where you see it there in the center of the screen, or the center of the booster. So that's the rear. That'll come right up to the bottom of the proportioning valve. So that one's probably about where it needs to be. And then the easiest one will be the driver's side. I'm sure I can get it bent in the right position, but if not, it's so easy to put a new one in there, I could. But I'm trying not to out of laziness, I'm trying not to have to flare anything under the hood here just because it's such a pain. But so far it's looking like I can probably make it work. That passenger side one's probably going to be the most challenging because I'm going to have to straighten it out and bend it the opposite direction. So we'll get to that in a minute. I'm going to go onto the dash now and get the brake pedal hooked up. There's no point in videoing that. I've talked about that in other videos. I don't do under the dash video. It's hard enough to try and do that without videoing it, but it's really just the reinstallation of the brake pedal and getting the clevis back together. So we're 2,000 or so cuss words in now, and in the why did I buy this car phase. I've just about got the brake lines where they need to be. I'm not real happy with the passenger front one there, but it's just kind of how it worked out. The driver side was even more fun. I had to drill a new hole. You can see it there. That goes directly into the port. You can actually see through that hole in the bracket. You can see the port there. I had to make it line right up with that. The old hole is down there. You can see it just below. So I had to make a new line, get out the double flaring tool. By the way, always use a double flaring tool with brake lines. Don't use a single flare tool. It will crack. It's not strong enough. You have to use double flare. So it makes a 90 and just comes straight out of that new hole there. And it's going to come right down. So there's the new hole up there. It comes right down there. So I just made the line for that. The rear looks like it's lining up, and the passenger side, it looks like it's lining up now. So we actually might be getting somewhere with it, but this has taken way longer than I thought that it would. So the next thing I'm going to do is yank this back out of here, get the master lines hooked up out of the car because it'll just be so much easier, and then slip the whole thing in there as a unit. That way I'm not trying to tighten up 4 lines to the master. So I'm going to do that next, and then we'll check back in and see how it's, we'll see what progress we've made. All right, so the master cylinder is in and done, which is good because I'm done with it. This was challenging to say the least. It's just a tight spot, and there's really nothing that you can do to make it better. Even if I was to take the strut out of there, it wouldn't have mattered. It's just tight in that back corner. Just want to take a couple notes on this. Everything's all tightened down now and everything. So we got the new line, like I said, going down through there in the strut tower. I had to move that. The line for the rears, I didn't realize the adapter that they give you is 1/4 inch. It's not 3/16. So it's not really so much an adapter as it's a short little line with an angle that's it's just a 1/4 inch tube with 2 different nut sizes. I forget what the 2 nut sizes are. But it's a smaller nut size, which led me to believe it was 3/16, but it wasn't. It was still 1 step larger, whatever nut size that is. Luckily, out of some pure miracle left over from when I did the brakes on my truck, I had a 1/4 inch brake line to 3/16 adapter, which was a female to male adapter. And you probably can't really see it down there, but let's see if I can shine a little light down there. Maybe it'll pick it up. Yeah, it's right. I had the coupling already, the union. Yeah, you can't quite see it, but it's down there. There's that union down there is 3/16. And then above the top of that union, or coupling, I guess you'd call it, it's not really a union. Above that coupling is that adapter I was talking about. Go from 1/4 to 3/16. It didn't include that. I just happened to have one. So I was able to piecemeal it together, but I wish that they would include that with the kit. Of course, I don't know if all the cars had 3/16 going to the rear. Some of them had 1/4 inch. Maybe some have 1/4. I don't know. Somebody may know the answer to that. But anyways, so it's all in. I haven't bled it or anything yet because I've got to do all the work that has to happen to the rear end. I'm going to get it apart, and I'm going to take a look at it and see if the axle seals are in fact leaking. If they are, I've got all the parts for that. And then the only thing that's left here is I got to put the fitting in the manifold. It's actually, the manifold's already got a fitting for it. I'm not sure why, but it does, and it's capped off for the vacuum line. So I have a 3/8 to 3/8 adapter already. I've probably got a ton of those laying around somewhere. And it's just going to have a piece of hose running over to the booster, and that'll finish up everything under the hood. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to the rear. This is going to end part 3. Not a whole lot of information in this video. Unfortunately, it's just too difficult to try and video this and describe it when I'm trying to figure out exactly what it is I'm going to do here, or what I did. So overall, I'm pretty happy with the way it came out. I'm going to rework this line right here just a little bit, and then I have clamps to reclamp it to the firewall because I'd take the original one off to make the clearance for this. So it'll get properly clamped down and relieved and everything. So you got to make sure that you do that. The same thing with the lower brake line down there. It's going to get clamped, and then the one here isn't going to need anything. Just a grommet is all it's going to need. It didn't have anything from the factory either. It's just real short. So this will wrap it up, and we'll see you in the next video.